You've seen the videos. You've seen the hauls. You've probably walked into an Aldi yourself, quarter in hand, feeling like a total financial genius because you just got a week's worth of groceries for the price of a single steak at a high-end supermarket. For years, we've been told that Aldi is the ultimate life hack, the gold standard for anyone trying to survive this inflation-heavy economy without selling a kidney. But what if I told you that the very things that make Aldi cheap are the exact reasons you might never want to set foot in one again? We're pulling back the curtain on a side of this grocery giant that doesn't make it into the glossy weekly ads or the ALDI Finds TikTok trends. By the time we're done today, you're going to see those low prices in a completely different light. If you're someone who values your time, your health, and the quality of what you put on your family's table, you need to hear this because the Aldi effect is about to be broken. Before we dive into the first major red flag, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and hit that notification bell. We're tracking the biggest retail shifts of 2025, so you don't have to. Let us start with the most alarming trend of the last 12 months, the safety crisis. We all know that every grocery store deals with recalls from time to time, but 2025 has been a particularly rough year for Aldi's house brands. If you've got a bag of Happy Farm shredded cheese in your fridge right now, you might want to stop what you're doing and check the label. Earlier this year, thousands of bags had to be yanked from shelves across the Northeast because they were potentially contaminated with fragments of stainless steel. Think about that for a second. You're making a grilled cheese for your kid, and there's a literal piece of metal hiding in the Colby Jack. This wasn't an isolated incident either. We've seen recalls for Casa Mamita taquitos and even Park Street Deli pork carnitas due to similar foreign object contamination risks. When a company operates on such razor-thin margins and pushes its suppliers to produce at the lowest possible cost, quality control is often the first thing to suffer. It makes you wonder if that $2 savings is really worth the risk of a dental emergency or worse. This brings us to the core of why Aldi is so cheap in the first place, and it's something I call the skeleton crew problem. Have you noticed lately that the lines at your local Aldi are getting longer, even while the rest of the store feels like a ghost town? That's because Aldi's business model depends on having as few employees as humanly possible. In 2025, while other retailers are trying to improve the customer experience, Aldi is doubling down on efficiency at your expense. You'll see one person running the register, then suddenly that same person is sprinting to the back to unload a pallet, then they're back at the front to handle a code 3. It's a high-stress environment for the workers, and for you, it means if there's a spill in aisle 4 or a price mistake at the register, you're basically on your own. There is no customer service desk. There is no floor associate to help you find the gluten-free crackers. You're trading your time and your sanity for those lower prices, and as we move deeper into 2025, many shoppers are starting to realize that their time is actually worth more than the $5 they saved on produce. Speaking of produce, let us talk about the Aldi roulette you play every time you walk into the fruits and vegetables section. We've all been there. You buy a bag of avocados that look perfect, only to cut them open the next day and find they've turned into a brown, mushy mess. Or you grab a container of strawberries that looks fine on top, but the bottom layer is already fuzzy with mold. Because Aldi moves so much volume and keeps their staff so thin, the produce often sits in the back or on the floor longer than it should without being properly rotated. In a traditional grocery store, you have dedicated produce captains whose entire job is to cull the bad fruit. At Aldi, that captain is also the cashier and the stocker. The result is a enormous quality that can actually end up costing you more money in the long run when you have to throw away half of what you bought. If you're tired of playing the will it rot before Tuesday game, it's a massive reason why people are heading back to stores with dedicated departments. But it's not just about the quality of the food, it's about the items that aren't there at all. One of the biggest frustrations for Aldi loyalists in 2025 has been the disappearing act. Aldi is famous for its limited-time finds, but lately, even their core staples are vanishing without warning. We've seen a massive wave of shoppers taking to social media to complain about their favorite dairy-free creamers, specific snacks, or organic staples being discontinued overnight. This isn't an accident, it's a calculated part of their limited assortment strategy. If a product's profit margin dips by even a fraction of a percent, Aldi will cut it from the lineup faster than you can say quarter for the cart. This creates a frustrating shopping experience where you can never truly rely on the store for your full list. You end up having to go to a second grocery store anyway just to get the 3 things Aldi decided not to carry this week. At that point, are you really saving time or money? If you're finding this breakdown eye-opening, go ahead and hit that like button. It really helps the video reach more people who are trying to navigate these crazy grocery prices. We've only scratched the surface of the hidden costs of shopping here. Next, we're going to dive into the psychological tricks Aldi uses to get you to spend more than you planned, and the truth about their private label brands that might not be as comparable to name brands as they claim. Stick around, because what we're covering now is the real reason your cheap grocery trip always ends up being more expensive than you thought. If that first look at Aldi had you questioning your loyalty to the quarter cart system, buckle up, because this is where the math and the psychology really starts to get messy. We've already talked about the safety recalls and the skeleton crews, but there is a much deeper reason why your cheap Aldi trip often feels like a financial trap. It's time to talk about the psychological warfare of the aisle of shame. You know, the middle aisle filled with everything from inflatable kayaks and weighted blankets to $5 mini waffle makers and gardening clogs. It's officially called the ALDI Finds section, but in 2025, it's become the retailer's biggest weapon against your budget. First, we have to look at the scarcity trap. Aldi doesn't just stock these random items, they stock them in tiny quantities for exactly 7 days. This creates a buy it now or lose it forever panic in your brain. You walked in for eggs and milk, but suddenly you're holding a cordless drill because it's a great deal and they only have 2 left. This is deliberate. By the time you get to the register, that $40 grocery bill has ballooned to $110 because of a treasure you didn't even know existed 10 minutes ago. In a year where we're all trying to tighten our belts, these high-margin impulse buys are the primary way Aldi offsets the low prices on their bread and milk. You aren't just shopping, you're being gamified. Second, let us peel back the label on those famous Aldi private brands. For a long time, the rumor was that Aldi products were just name brands in a different package, that Millville cereal was actually General Mills, or that Chaucer chocolate was secretly a high-end European brand. But as we move through 2025, the reality is becoming more transparent, and it's not always pretty. To keep prices at rock bottom, many of these house brands rely on what experts call filler-heavy formulations. Take their frozen, whole simple meals or Park Street deli kits, for example. Recent nutritional audits have shown that some of these healthy-looking options are packed with staggering amounts of sodium and saturated fat, sometimes nearly 90% of your daily recommended intake in a single serving. Third, we have to talk about the dupes that aren't actually dupes. While some Aldi products like their specially selected marinara have a cult following for being similar to high-end brands like Raues, others are literally being hauled into court. In mid-2025, major food conglomerates like Mondelez, the parent company of Oreo, have filed lawsuits against Aldi, claiming their packaging is so similar it's designed to intentionally confuse shoppers. But the confusion isn't just about the box, it's about what's inside. Many shoppers are reporting that as inflation has stayed sticky, the quality of these copycat products has dipped. You might be getting a cookie that looks like an Oreo, but it's loaded with more high-fructose corn syrup and less actual cocoa to keep that $2.49 price point. If you're still with me, you're starting to see the pattern. Aldi isn't just a store, it's an efficiency machine that prioritizes the bottom line over everything else, including your health and your habits. Before we get into the final part of this video, where I'm going to reveal the hidden tax of shopping at Aldi that most people completely overlook, do me a huge favor. If you've ever walked out of Aldi with something completely random like a chainsaw or a set of pet stairs you didn't need, tell me your most shameful purchase in the comments. I read every single one. And if you're finding this helpful, Share this video with that one friend who refuses to shop anywhere else. We need to talk about the ALDI remodel that is happening right now across the US because it's changing the way you move through the store in a way that is designed to make you spend even more. This is where the rubber really meets the road. We've covered the safety risks, the staffing shortages, and the psychological traps of the aisle of shame. But if you're still on the fence thinking, yeah, but I still save $50 a week, we need to talk about the environment itself and the ultimate hidden tax you pay every time you walk through those automatic doors. If your local Aldi has undergone a grand reopening recently, you might have noticed it looks nicer, wider aisles, better lighting, maybe some fancy new wood-look flooring in the produce section. It feels more upscale, right? But hear us, what is really happening with those 2025 remodels? Aldi has spent millions re-engineering their store flow based on extensive data regarding how you shop. They know their old model was purely about speed, get in, grab the basics, get out. The new layouts are designed to disrupt that efficiency just enough to pad their profits. Notice how the ALDI Finds section is often positioned differently now, forcing you to traverse more of the store or funneling you past high-margin seasonal food items before you hit the essentials like dairy and meat. They've widened certain aisles not just for your comfort, but to fit freestanding display shippers that slow down your cart. It's a subtle manipulation of physical space designed to increase your dwell time in zones where you are most likely to impulse buy, all while maintaining that illusion of a quick trip. And this leads to the ultimate reason why so many Americans are quietly quitting Aldi in 2025, the cumulative hidden tax of the entire experience. We've been programmed for years to look only at the bottom line of the receipt. But as life gets busier and more stressful, we have to ask, what is your time worth? What is your mental energy worth? Think honestly about the actual process of an Aldi run. You hunt for a quarter in your car console. You navigate a store that feels increasingly chaotic due to understaffing. You stress over whether the chicken breast you just picked up is part of the latest recall, or if the strawberries will be fuzzy by tomorrow morning. You speedrun the checkout process, hoping you don't get side-eye from the cashier for not loading the belt fast enough. Then, you stand in a cramped, high-traffic area bagging your own groceries like you work there, often with flimsy bags you had to buy. Finally, you have to trek back across the parking lot to return the cart just to get your 25 cents back. 10 years ago, we put up with all of that because the savings gap was astronomical. You almost felt like you were getting away with something. But in 2025, the grocery landscape has shifted dramatically. Competitors have caught up. Giants like Walmart have aggressively price-matched Aldi on core staples without making you rent a cart or bag your own groceries in a panic. Other regional chains have leaned hard into massive digital coupon programs and loyalty rewards that Aldi simply refuses to offer because it conflicts with their simple model. When you factor in the gas money for a second trip to a real supermarket because Aldi was out of cilantro again, plus the cost of the food waste from bad produce, plus the sheer hassle and physical labor of the experience, the math just doesn't math anymore for a lot of families. The no-frills model used to feel smart and frugal now. In the face of better options, it just feels exhausting and cheap. So, is Aldi evil? No. They are a brilliant corporation that figured out precisely how much inconvenience Americans would tolerate to save a buck. But the tipping point has arrived. We are waking up to the fact that the lowest price tag on the shelf isn't always the best value for our lives. Sometimes, paying a tiny bit more for a clean, fully staffed store where you can get everything you need in one trip without fearing for your dental health due to metal in the cheese is the real life hack. If this video has changed your perspective on where you buy your food and why, do me a solid and smash that subscribe button right now. We're going to keep exposing the retail tricks they don't want you to know about all year long. And if you want to know more about how to spot bad products before you buy them, check out the recommendations on your screen. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.